Hey everybody, it's me, Candy MVP. Thank you so much for joining me today on this adventure. And so if you like this video, please click the subscribe button. I post videos every Thursday, so please tune in with me. I would love to have you join in with me on this hair adventure that I'm on. Just doing styles, doing fun stuff, trying new things with my hair. So for this particular video, as you can see, it's called Operation Flat Iron Success. A definite success. As you can see, all of my curls are back to normal. I had absolutely no heat damage. And if you have seen probably in some of my previous videos, or a video or two maybe, where I've talked about how I flat ironed my hair before and I actually got some heat damage. So I was very happy that this time I didn't get heat damage. I used that same flat iron that I used a couple of years ago. But I did a couple of things. So I thought it might be helpful to share some of the things that I did to achieve this successful flat iron, and also for my hair to revert back to normal. And so these are not guaranteed things. I just want to make sure that I do put out that disclaimer. Everybody's hair is different. Everybody here is going to react differently. I have discussed some of these things with some of my cosmetologist friends. They agree. However, still, again, some of these things, it really just depends on your hair, and it isn't a guarantee. But these are some tips that helped me for when I did my flat iron, that helped me, my hair kind of revert back and not receive so much heat damage. So I washed and conditioned my hair, as you know. So the first thing I did is I did not use heat for the blowout. I used a cool air blowout, and basically I used the tension method, or the stretch method, whatever you want to call it. And so basically that just kind of kept less heat off of my hair, especially since I'm going to be applying more heat during the flat iron. Now I will say this, I know individuals that have used heat during the flat iron because they try to get it as straight as possible and their hair still did revert back. So again, that is your choice. But what I do want to make sure that I say, the second thing is use heat protectant. Well, actually that should be the first thing before the blowout, if you're using heat especially. Put heat protectant on your hair. And even though I did cool air blow dry, I still put the heat protectant on it at that point. Not necessarily because I was using heat, but because I knew I would be applying heat when I was going to flat iron my hair. So I would say make sure you, number one, use heat protectant on your hair. I probably applied to every section about, depending on how large, when I was blow drying, I applied about 3 to 5 squirts of the heat protectant on my hand. I rubbed it in and I just kind of massaged it through from root to end my hair. And of course my hair at this point had already been detangled and everything like that. I brushed it through as well, because using my tangle teaser, because I just want to make sure that all the strands get the heat protectant on it, so that when the heat is applied, the strands are protected. Okay, so the second thing I did after the heat protectant was I did a cool air blowout. And again, like I've said before, some people have used heat and that's still been okay. So just remember, if you do decide to use heat, you want to blow dry your hair in a downward angle. That way the heat isn't directly on your scalp. And also another good thing to use is the attachments that come with. So they do have the attachments that have like the long nozzle. They also have the attachments with the comb. Particularly, I don't always like the combs because, as you know, I like to be able to feel my hair unless it's completely detangled. But sometimes it's hard for naturals because our hair curls up so fast. So I did use the stretch method because I just think that's a lot better. And even after it was completely dry, I still use that little technique that you use when you're using heat with the flat iron, where I kind of did that very slowly with it, and to try to get it kind of to form into like the flat iron shape, or to that kind of form the hair into that shape that I wanted. Okay, so I would say the third thing that I did was, okay, so this is regarding the actual flat iron. So initially I did put heat on my hair more than once. Yeah, and I was so surprised that even after that my hair still reverted back, so I'm so glad. The first time that I did it, I used it on the lowest heat. It was 350, I believe. It may have been like, no, I take that back, it was 275. It was really, really low. And that's what you saw me in the actual video. I used 275, and still in the video it didn't look really horrible. It was just a little frizzy. And so I did pretty much like one stroke on each strand. I tried to get it as thin as possible, but also not too thin, because I didn't want it just to be too much heat applied. But I did parted it, and I did one strand. I took the brush also, because you want to get especially to the ends, because our ends a lot of times are going to be the driest part of our hair. And so you want to make sure that you can comb that out, which means it'll probably be a little bit more curlier, or sometimes a little bit more coarser than the rest of the hair. So I use that along with it. Again, I use the low heat. So the thing about flat ironing your hair, I would say the reason why heat damage probably happens most of the time, and I discussed this with a friend of mine he's a cosmetologist, is the fact that people continue to reapply and reapply the heat to the hair. When you continue to reapply the heat, then that just reinforces the heat on your hair, especially if you're not using heat protectant. And so after a while, of course, the heat protectant will wear off, and as you're reapplying the heat, your hair will begin to get damaged, especially depending on how hot the flat iron might be at that time. And so you just really want to be careful that if you do decide to reapply heat, that your hair still has heat protectant on it, and that you're not burning your hair. So I reapplied heat to my hair 2 times after the original flat iron. The first time I flat ironed my hair, as you probably saw it was a little poofy. And I'll put a picture here so you can see it. It was still looked very full and nice, and like full of volume and body. However, it was kind of still frizzy. So because of that, I did with the 275. I went back. I was like, well, you know what? I was kind of nervous about it, but I said, let me go ahead and just reapply. And I did again, just one strip. Okay, and this was probably like the next day. I had my hair flat ironed for about 9 days total before I washed it out. And let's see. So then the third time I reapplied it, this was after I kind of talked it over with some of my natural friends and also some other, professionals. And after discussing it with them, they kind of just brought it, they said that they kind of felt as though it's the reapplying, which is true. When I got heat damage that first time, where I went wrong, I didn't use heat protectant like I did this time. I normally would flat iron my hair, and I would use like this gloss, and my hair would revert back. But again, I got this new flat iron. I think it was a lot hotter, and I didn't use the heat protectant. Like, I didn't really make sure I had enough on my strands, and I got the heat damage. But it may not even have been the initial flat iron. It probably was afterwards, trying to maintain that flat iron style in my natural hair state, and I kept reapplying the heat, and I think that is where the heat damage began to apply, okay, or began to basically get that's when I basically started to get the heat damage on my hair. So during that 9 days, I reapplied heat another time, and that was probably like the 4th day. And so the first time I did it was on what day was that? I think it was a Friday. Yes, it was a Friday. And so I probably reapplied the heat for Sunday. Yes, it was for Sunday. And then so Sunday, I bumped it up. So typically the highest heat, I know people, I have a friend, and she had used 450 on someone's hair, which is the highest, and their hair did revert back. And so just because I didn't want to use the 450, I used the one right below it, which was 410 degrees. So I reapplied the heat. I made sure that I had heat protectant on my hair, and because it was the 3rd or 4th day, whatever day it was, my hair was beginning to look oily. Not too oily, but I could just tell if I kept reapplying it, it would look too oily or be too oily. I took the heat protectant, and I just rubbed it and made sure that it was on all of my hair. Okay, I didn't do it the same. I didn't use the same technique I did before, because then it would have been too saturated. Okay, so I just went through the same process of the first flat iron, and I flat ironed my hair with 410 degrees. That I achieved My flat iron was very nice looking. My hair was a lot straighter at that point. I still didn't wear it down because I don't know. I think when I wear it down, I'm just more prone to want to keep flat ironing it, to try to keep the curl, to try to maintain that look. And then 2, it's hot. It's the summer. When your hair is out, it's not that it's a bad thing to ever do it, but I just kind of wanted to keep it more protected this time, especially since I was getting my ends trimmed. So I used 410 degrees. That's the highest, and I think so the next time I'll probably flat iron my hair. I'm not sure when that will be, but I think the next time that I do flat iron my hair, I'll probably just use the 410 degrees, now that I know that I could use that and my hair will still revert back. So during the 7 days that my hair was flat ironed, I tried to wear protective styles as much as possible. So my favorite protective styles, I posted a video about it, were like French braid styles. There's other styles too that I didn't do this particular time that maybe the next time I flat iron my hair I will do to show you. I did have my hair in a ponytail a couple times, just kind of waving around, and it was kind of out. But I try to use like protective styles as much as possible just to kind of protect my ends away from the sun, because as you know, you can also receive heat damage from the sun when it's really, really hot or it's really, really sunny outside if you're out there a lot. Okay, so again, these are just disclaimers, the information for you to know, not necessarily saying that if you go out in the sun you're definitely going to get heat damage. That's not true. It's just that it's possible that can happen to people. Alright, so yeah, I'm trying to think of everything. I'm just really, really excited and happy that my hair reverted back. Like I mentioned before in other videos, I used to flat iron my hair more often when I was natural, but that last time that I flat ironed it and I got heat damage, I just really didn't. It's not that I didn't like the way my hair looked, it's just that my natural curls were much looser. It's not, my ends weren't split or anything like that. Heat damage doesn't necessarily mean that you burn your hair off. All it means is that because of the excessive heat, it will change your natural pattern of your hair. Again, not that my hair was ugly that way. It's just that I definitely couldn't achieve this particular hairstyle because my hair wasn't curly enough. I would have to create the curls. And so I did miss that. So I was very happy when eventually my hair grew out. Now here's something I do want to add about heat damage, is that you can receive heat damage and it's not that your hair may not go back to its normal, natural curly state or wavy, whatever your hair texture is. It's just that it will take a while for that, because you have to really nourish your hair back to the place to where, kind of like you have to retrain your hair to go back to its natural state once it has received that heat damage. And for some people, once it's damaged, it's just really difficult for it to go back. You may have to cut off those straight ends. I did do some of that. I do that a little bit with mine. I cut off some of those ends that were too straight, that just didn't have much of a curl pattern at all. I did cut some of those off, but the rest of it I pretty much just kind of let it grow out, and then eventually all of my hair kind of reverted back, you know, after a while. Like even maybe, it may have even been like 6 months to a year. So yeah. So that's how I achieved my successful flat iron. I'm so, again, super duper excited that I have something to share with you that was successful that maybe you can try. But just again, know that this is something that I did. It worked for me. It may not work for everybody, but I surely do hope that this information was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. Join in with me on the next adventure next Thursday. And again, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much, and God bless you.